Let's talk about hating jobs.
Okay, let's
You guys
do
want to talk
it.
about hating some jobs here?
Sure, because I don't.
Yeah, good.
Right?
That's a good start
like
with
our
your
jobs.
employer most definitely watching right now. So we don't hate our jobs, but there's probably things we don't like about our job,
Sure.
right? And as a result of that, there's some red flags that you probably need to watch out for that could be effects from that. So I'm going to start with, how about Felicia? You can't sleep? Is that where? Carly, that's yours, right?
That's
You say
mine,
you
yeah.
not being able to sleep is one of those red flags that you identify
Yep.
with.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
that's-
Carly's, but I got it too.
That's the
have a little
toughest
bit of
one
it.
because when you can't sleep, like that literally affects every other part of your life. Like you're eating differently,
Yep.
everything changes. You don't have the energy to do the things you would normally want to do. So I feel like what I do in that situation is just try to build healthy things into my life and my day to make sure that I can get that sleep. Like, don't be afraid if this is happening to you. Don't be afraid to tell your partner, I can't really hang out this weekend until I just prioritize sleep. I prioritize some self-care and some things that can get me in a good spot.
Yeah, put that phone down, not worry about anything, and
Yeah.
actually get good,
Yeah.
sound, solid sleep.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, it's just shocking that now these days, like we're in the day and time where you feel like you actually have to schedule sleep in.
Yeah.
Like it's just not enough hours in the day. And don't even think about adding kids into the mix. That's a whole nother equation that you have to work out. For me, I think I get frustrated with my stomach, like because
Some
I
stomach
don't get a lot
issues.
of sleep on this schedule. I feel like you said, when you're not getting enough sleep, you don't feel like going to the grocery store and coming home and cooking a full meal. You want to get whatever's convenient, quick, so hopefully you can get in the bed. And so like my diet has been affected somewhat on this schedule, just trying to make sure I get my fiber in and
Yeah.
some good
Yeah.
healthy greens.
Yeah.
No, it's real. Survey says bubble guts. That's definitely on the list for me.
Jordan!
100%. That's on there. She's all right. For
That
me,
is not this list.
For me, in all seriousness, switching gears a little bit because it is a serious one, is your mental health gets worse.
Oh,
And I think this is one that everybody needs to pay attention to in a job that they just feel like may not be for them. It's not behooving of you. It's not befitting. It's not beneficial to come into work, hate your job actively every day, not
So
want to
true.
be there,
Yeah.
because eventually it's going to take a toll on your family life, your social life, physical health, and then ultimately your mental health just gets all out of whack. And at that point, if I'm working with somebody who is clearly showing signs of that, my advice would be, hey, it's not that easy. I know you don't just have another job waiting in the wings, and I'd never advise somebody to put their financial situation and their family in peril by leaving a job. But you got to put yourself first.
Yeah.
I'll take
And I
it
think that's huge.
It is huge. I'll take it another step further. Your spiritual health.
Yeah.
Your
Great
spiritual
point.
health. And I have worked jobs before where I felt like all of these things, spiritual, mental, diet, sleep, all of those were affected.
Yeah.
And then a whole nother level, like where it was just affecting me to my core. And I will never, ever sacrifice that again in my life. Like
Yeah.
once you go through something like that, it is not worth it. Like I know, you got to put food on the table, and I get it, but you are far better off walking away from anything like that. So I encourage anyone, you have to step out on faith sometimes, because I've been there. I know, trust me, do not let it take that much from you.
Yeah, like if you're experiencing those signs, just do things like make a plan to get out. Maybe don't quit your job right now if you don't have money saved up. Save up that money, make plans, start applying for other things, and just get out. Because like you
Yeah.
said, it's not worth it.
Yes, girl.
Just don't pull the move from, if you guys have seen the movie Half Baked, when the guy quits, he goes, forget you, you're cool, I'm out.
You
don't
gotta
want
have
that
an
moment.
epic exit.
Yeah, you don't
gotta
go
flip
that
a
way.
couple tables on the way out.
Yeah, we would advise that. Maybe Felicia would. Okay, so this next one, Digital Third Coast. They broke down Chicago's most annoying neighborhoods. So the criteria, it was simple for the rankings. There's 3 things that they were basing this off of, specific issues. They're talking about noise, they're talking about garbage in alleys, and they're talking about, which I think is key and critical, paramount one here, dog poop. So these are the 3 things that they're basing these rankings off of for the most annoying neighborhoods. At the top of the list, a lot of people love Old Town. On the top list for annoying neighborhoods, it's where they fall, a dubious distinction. How about Bucktown at 2, Wicker Park at 3? These are all in kind of a similar area. Lincoln Park at 4, Greektown at 5. Now, some of these skew younger. I wonder if that is part
Yeah.
of this.
Do you know what all these neighborhoods have in common?
What's that?
Young professionals.
That's what I was going to say. They do skew younger for the most part. Not
Yeah.
in totality, but there is a lot of that.
And transplants, people who aren't technically from Chicago, but they've moved here. Maybe they're from the suburbs and they've taken a job in the city, or maybe they're from a completely different city. They all live in those neighborhoods.
Are you
The
avoiding
thing
those
is,
neighborhoods?
I am avoiding those neighborhoods. I try to. I actually used to live in one and I work in another. And so I'm familiar with these neighborhoods. But Chicago has a culture, and we have a driving culture. We have a culture how we live together. And it's like, oh, those populations, those neighborhoods are also more condensed too.
Yeah,
So that's another thing. People are
that
living on
adds
top
to
of each
those
other.
issues.
Yeah.
No question. How
Not
about
a
you?
lot of space. Yeah, it was interesting to see on there picking up dog poop. Like, I've never thought of calling in the city and being like, there's dog poop all over my street. But you said in your neighborhood it happens all the time.
Yeah, it does happen all the time. I used to watch. I used to be the guy looking out my window, making sure that
You're
these
the
young
neighborhood
kids,
watch?
that these young. I wouldn't do that. I'd wait for them because I'd watch this one guy, young guy in his 20s. He'd have this big dog, and it always just let it go right in my front yard.
Big dog.
And he thought he was slick. He'd be doing it at night, and sometimes the hours were really late. He'd do the old look, nobody looking. Then he'd make his way without cleaning it up.
That's not cool.
So I watched this happen a second time because I didn't see it the first. I saw the poop, but I couldn't for sure know that was his dog that did it. It was already down the way. Next time I saw it, I'm in my underwear, no shirt on. It's a bad visual for everybody. I'm sorry.
That was the punishment.
I went right downstairs. I was like, hey, yo, clean that up, my man, or we're going to have
Yeah.
some issues.
You
I had the
don't-
finger point going and
Good.
everything.
And you don't live in an area that has high rises, meaning
No.
like this is a neighborhood.
a community,
yeah.
Like this is my grass that you're not cleaning up. That's a problem.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
becomes dangerous. I mean,
That's true.
If that
Yeah,
starts to
'cause
pile
your
up,
dog-
you can get sick. Your dog
Yeah.
can get sick.
You step in it, you bring
It's
them
an
into your
eyesore.
house. Yeah.
What's the number one thing that makes a neighborhood annoying to you guys? Is there something on your rankings list, your criteria?
Probably just a lot of bros.
Bros, you like those
Too
type
many
of guys.
bros.
huh?
You gotta
If you
explain
were
to
like,
us what a
stop.
bro is.
Basic
I don't
guys,
know,
basic
just,
men.
Like, yeah, basic men.
There you go. How about you?
The frat boys that you're saying.
Pretty
you,
much,
You don't
yeah.
want those
Or-
in your
or
neighborhood.
overgrown frat boys.
I mean, I don't want not one particular thing stands out to me, but it's just be considerate. The
Yeah.
common sense
Yeah.
things that are missing, like you don't take somebody's space that they just spent 45 minutes shoveling out before they get to work.
Dibs,
That's
baby.
common sense.
Yeah.
Dibs. I got dibs.
Dibs is huge.
It's just common sense stuff. Like you don't have your music blasting loud past 10 o'clock. I feel like
Yeah.
this is just
Considerate
stuff you
neighbors
should
is
know.
what you want. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just want
Yeah.
diversity in parking. That's really it. That's all I
Yeah.
want. I want a diverse neighborhood, and I want to be able to park my car.
So once you get married, should you tone down your sexy? I wanted to bring this question to you guys because I just talked to my friend about this last night, and we were on the phone. She's married too, and we were just this is what we had a conversation about. I don't want to say too much. I want to know what you think.
Okay.
Go.
This is why I'm never getting married. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I've never considered myself like a sexy person. If I am, I feel like it's all internal. So I can't imagine. But I do feel like in general, women should be able to do whatever they want, and men too. I don't want you to have to tone down your sexy. Like
don't
I think
have
you should
any
be able
tone
to do
down.
whatever you want. I would say just when it comes to the idea of sexy, maybe it's who you're directing that attention to and trying to flirt and get that. You should probably just get that from your partner from that point moving forward. But yeah, I feel like no one should have to tone down their sexy if that's who they are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and keep it fresh. I mean, just because you're married, what does that mean? All the lust and all the experience and all the spontaneity disappears?
Yeah.
Like, look, I think it'd be one thing if that's never who you were. Then you're in a relationship and you don't have that sex life, you don't have that intimacy, but all of a sudden your significant other, your partner wants to be sexy all the time and not with you. Like they're going out without you and they're doing
well,
all
that's
this
another
stuff.
problem.
Those are signs and red flags that you got an issue.
Yeah.
But if you had a vibrant sex life and you had great things going on when you were single and just dating that person,
Yeah.
that shouldn't change when
Oh,
you get married.
Jordan.
Keep it fun.
I think
I got a story about you. I'll save
Hit
it
me.
for I'll save it for the commercial break. I will. I'll save it for the commercial
No,
break.
I
But I
don't- you
can
don't-
stop you in your tracks right now. So I'll tell my story because they're
You
kind of
can't make
related.
threats like that on
They're
air and
kinda
not talk
related.
about it, kid.
They're
Yeah,
kind
what
of
is it?
related. So when you're saying I think you should be able to do what you want, I do agree. However, I do think that there's another person. When I get married, when I chose him as my husband, I think there's another part of it, and that goes beyond to religious and spiritual levels as well. But let me tell you this specific story. We were going to a car dealership. I had to go get my car serviced.
Yeah.
And so I had on some particularly short shorts. They were very short. And so my husband, he asked me to change. And I said no, probably several times. But he asked me to change because I'm going into a place where men are usually eyeing,
Yeah.
I'm literally going to the mechanic in some very short shorts with my husband. He asked me to change because it would put him in a uncomfortable situation as my protector, as my husband, as the man in my life, because he would have to defend me
True.
or myself. So I wouldn't say I have to change who I am, but I'm saying that I'm considerate of my partner.
Okay.
For me, those are two different things. That was one time that I did end
Okay,
up
see,
changing.
now Felicia boxed me in a corner, so I bought my blazer,
and you
we're
got
going to talk about.
You got a similar
I know what she's
situation.
Sure.
I know
I'm
what
not
you're
trying to share your business.
No, I'm an
you
open
got
book.
a similar situation.
I'm an open book. I'm curious what everybody out there thinks. So
Well,
I'll tell this
I'll
one.
go ahead. Do you know the story I'm
yeah,
talking
I know exactly
about?
what you're talking about.
Okay.
Because I opened
I
it up
don't,
to
so
you
tell
guys.
me.
My fiance is a sports reporter.
Okay.
And she was in the locker room.
Tell it like it is,
And
brother.
she was covering a team, and she was wearing something a little bit more provocative than I thought or I was comfortable with her wearing in a locker room covering a bunch of half-naked athletes. So I said to her, I said, I love the outfit. You look beautiful. I don't think that's appropriate to be wearing there. And I came to you
It didn't
guys.
go exactly that way.
But I kind of was like, hey, yeah, you're right. I was a little bit harsh. I was like, come on, you really gonna wear that? And I asked you guys if you remember.
Okay.
I said, as a man, am I out of line for saying this to the woman that I love? And you guys were kind of Switzerland on it. You didn't scold me for it. And she, however, when I presented it to her, maybe I could have presented it better. I just said, I don't think you should wear that. Guys, let me tell you something to never do. Never tell a woman what she can and can't wear in any circumstance. She's a grown woman. She can handle herself. And I was told that, and I backed off of it completely from there. So I do think that's an interesting conversation, because in that moment, I was like, I don't want my woman wearing that. But then again, you step back and say, are you a caveman? How dare you tell somebody
But
how to
she's
dress? So it's
grown
an interesting
up. Like, she
conversation.
knows what's going to happen when she goes in there. Maybe it's strategic. You know what I mean? Or maybe
No,
she's just,
no.
or maybe
Hey,
she
hey,
just
hey.
looks, or maybe she
Hey,
just
hey,
looks
hey,
amazing.
hey. See, that's why I said what I said. That is an absolute awful response to what we're talking. That better not be strategic, because what will be strategic is this wedding will be called off
No.
in that
That's,
circumstance.
you know that's not what I mean.
Yeah.
She's just bringing home the bacon.
Better
Yeah,
be
she's bringing home
strategic.
the bacon.